Welcome to the Space Podcast series, Stories of Change. This is an AI-narrated podcast series inspired by authentic curriculum redesign cases. In each episode, we explore how educators are rethinking teaching and learning to build stronger connections between universities, students, and society.
Hello, and welcome. Today we're exploring a curriculum redesign journey within movement and sports sciences that focused on embodied learning, sustainability, and student co-ownership. I'll be speaking with one of the redesign case holders about how a long-established program began questioning not only what future sport professionals should learn, but also how they should learn, and how that process led to difficult conversations, cultural change, and a more socially connected curriculum. When people think about curriculum redesign, they often imagine something fairly technical: reorganizing courses, updating content, adjusting timetables. But your experience seems to have been much more complex than that. What first triggered the redesign?
Yes, it quickly became clear that this was about much more than updating course content. The program had existed for decades, and some parts of it had barely changed in more than 50 years. At the same time, society around us had changed enormously. Sustainability concerns, changing forms of physical activity, new professional expectations, and evolving student needs. We began to realize the curriculum no longer fully reflected the realities students would enter after graduation.
So the redesign started from a broader reflection about relevance and connection with society.
Exactly. We started asking quite fundamental questions about what future sport professionals actually need today, and how education could connect more meaningfully with community realities, sustainability, and professional practice.
And I understand students and alumni played quite an important role in shaping that conversation as well.
Yes, very much so. Their feedback became a real turning point. Students told us they wanted stronger links between theory and practice and more responsibility within their learning process. And alumni pointed out that the professional world increasingly expects integrated skills rather than isolated knowledge areas.
So that feedback began influencing the redesign quite directly.
Absolutely. One important change was integrating theoretical learning much more closely into practical sessions. We also introduced a portfolio system that allowed students to develop and reflect on behavioral competencies such as leadership, collaboration, and self-reflection across the entire program.
There was also one particularly visible change linked to sustainability and outdoor education, wasn't there?
Yes. One of the most debated decisions was replacing the traditional winter sports module with a new course focused on nature and survival sports, including cycling as a more sustainable form of movement and outdoor engagement.
And I imagine that wasn't universally welcomed at first.
No, not at all. Some colleagues felt strongly attached to the existing course because it had become part of the program's identity over many years. There were also assumptions and concerns about whether all students would feel comfortable participating in activities like long-distance cycling, which revealed some deeper cultural attitudes within the program itself.
It sounds as though the redesign exposed not only curricular questions, but also underlying tensions within the educational culture.
Yes, definitely. We realized very quickly that curriculum redesign is deeply relational. Questions around identity, trust, workload, and even job insecurity all influenced the process. At times, people were understandably more focused on what might be lost rather than what could potentially be gained.
So how did the team begin moving through those tensions?
Dialogue became essential. We organized regular reflection meetings and consultations with students, alumni, and practice assistants. We also looked outward, benchmarking with other institutions and visiting another university to explore how student ownership and embodied learning could work in practice.
And did you begin to notice a cultural shift over time?
Slowly, yes. Not perfectly and not all at once, but gradually, people began to recognize the value of a program that connected more strongly with societal realities, sustainability, and student engagement. There was also greater coherence developing between theory, practice, and professional identity formation.
Looking back now, What do you feel has been the biggest lesson from the redesign journey?
Probably that meaningful curriculum redesign requires patience, transparency, and collective ownership. Real change rarely comes from one person having the perfect solution. It develops gradually through dialogue, collaboration, and a willingness to work through discomfort and disagreement together.
A thoughtful reminder that educational transformation is never only about courses or content, but about how institutions learn to evolve alongside the societies and communities they serve.
This story is based on real experiences from curriculum redesign projects run under the Erasmus Plus Space Project. More information about the cases and the Space Project can be found on the website www.community-engagement.eu.